It's the single thread holding together the tapestry of humanity. It's the Passive Aggressive Hour. I'm Steve Reeves, the bull of American broadcasting, alongside Johnny the K. Kensel, and the legendary Wid.
Tonight, the calf.
The calf of American broadcasting?
Yes,
that's what you're going with? Shall I introduce you that way every week?
Well, how did you get that nickname, the bull?
Well, it started out with my radio mentor, the Man Cow. I was originally the boy calf, you know, him being the Man Cow. And then he left the airwaves, and I thought, well, does that make me the Man Cow? I don't really want to be the Man Cow. I would rather be the bull. So I kind of took on the bull persona.
If it ain't one thing, it's the other.
There you go.
You know what's strange? I just saw her. No, you can see him too. I just saw Man Cow last night in the Bruce Willis film Death Wish.
Oh yeah, he's in it
prominently. Yeah, it's.
He was in the trailer too. I thought it was pretty cool.
What's a man cow?
Yeah, half man, half cow.
Oh,
I don't know what that shtick was. What that's supposed to mean either.
That was just a nickname he gave himself, I guess, when he was 18 and he started out.
But he was enormously popular.
Yeah.
Is he still on the air?
He just again left the airwaves.
I guess that's where half and half comes from.
Let's go to John Kensel with.
I heard of a centaur,
but never a man cow.
But never a man cow. Okay, that's a different. That's a different animal.
All right, let's go to John Kensel with his goddamn tweets for the fortnight. Johnny.
Last ones of 2020.
Although some of these are probably from 2019, 2018, 2012.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, today is Hitler's dog's birthday. You know how you can tell if your neighbors are Nazis? They celebrate when they have little red flags on their mailboxes.
You know how they get him to stop?
How?
He says Sig Heal.
The Monkees would be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame if Peter Tork didn't open his big yap and said the Monkees were bigger than Muhammad. TMZ is reporting that Sean Connery's last words were, "That dim sum I had at the Chinese buffet sucked."
He really said
That I heard.
He must have been shaking.
In 2009, I finished a bottle of water and I washed it out. And someone told me you refill it with hot water and put it back in the refrigerator. Well, 6 to 8 minutes later, my dad came home and opened the fridge up and grabs the water and it's boiling hot. And my dad said, "What's this, some kind of goddamn joke or is the freezer busted?"
That's a good...
That's a true story. I saw a dude with a SBLLV on his shirt. So I said, "Does that stand for Super Bowl 55? He said, "No. Stephen Baldwin loves Luther Vandross." Then we high-fived. I think Happy Days jumped the shark when Potsy started ranting about anti-circumcision.
Oh, they had to cut him off.
Remember Chang and Eng, the Siamese twins? One time, one wore an "I'm with stupid" t-shirt, and the other one got so mad he punched himself in the face.
They were married, those guys.
Yes, they had several children. Well, it's December 30th. Great. Now on the radio, we have to hear 11 months of Al's Restaurant. Hey, the hottest new show on demand is The Mandalorian. And everybody's talking about this big sex scene. Turns out I saw it. It's just two Wookiees scissoring.
That's a bad image.
It's getting bad reviews online. But, you know, I was so upset. I walked out of Wonder Woman 1984. Unfortunately, it was on a flight from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania to Camden, New Jersey, and I fell 40,000 feet into the Delaware River. Shari Lewis had a lamb chop puppet, and she named Lamb Chop. It was a little puppet.
Yeah,
That's right.
I got one of those for Christmas.
That's right. Her little puppet friend was named after a food made from what he is. It's like having a cow named ground up U burger.
It's Soylent Green.
I get emails from a Canadian pharmacy for Wang enhancement, but there's a catch from this Canadian Wang enhancement. When you orgasm, you
Got
yell
your wang wrong.
you yell out names of people in the Hockey Hall of Fame. You can use it in one of your skits.
Fuck them.
I was
Said the
dis-
B word, I'm sorry.
Sorry. I was discharged and lost my law license for having my client dance around the courtroom saying, see, guilty feet have got no rhythm. That was based on, 4 years since George Michael died. And a friend of the show, Eric Todd, had one of the funniest lines about that. When the day George Michael died, St. Peter's in heaven, and he hears a jitterbug. I thought, with the Christmas season just passing, I thought the hatred between Mannheim Steamroller and Trans-Siberian Orchestra was bad, but you should see the bad blood between the Australian Pink Floyd and The Machine. Strangely, though, Backstreets gets along pretty good with the E Street Shufflers, the Bruce Springsteen band. Plus, they all work at the same Arby's. Hey, worst pickup line? See this painting? It's an original Ray Liotta.
Karen.
Hey, with the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell in the Kiss Army, Paul Stanley comes forward with a sigh of relief and an Appletini.
I'll tell you my Paul Stanley story later.
Oh, all right, remember that. I just saw the worst thing ever on TV. A very Muppet Zapruder film. I don't know, man.
I hope they got the perpetrator.
I don't know what's going on. I saw more Christmas trees in December than any other month. I bet Shane McGowan's least favorite holiday song is All I Want for Christmas is My 22 Front Teeth.
That hurt his feelings.
I feel sorry for people born December 24th, you know, because it's so close to the naked Cowboy's birthday. Hey, I'll do two more. All right.
All right, John.
Hey, remember that 80s song One Night in Bangkok where Murray Head sings a line, I get my kicks above the waistline, sunshine. What a tool. Some guy made fun of my chain wallet. Now he eats through a straw. Because he was kind of chubby and doctors recommended a liquid diet. Still, you don't make fun of Johnny Kensel Cat's wallet.
Johnny Kensel.
Yes. Oh, there's a new Paul McCartney album out. It's better than his last album. Butterscotch slippers on a Liverpool blood pudding meat pie. But it is very reminiscent of his 2009 record, Floating Magic Sheep Skipping in Fields of Love Crackers. As 2020 ends and 2021 approaches, on my checks I still write John Cougar Mellon Kensel. Hey, you know that famous Bible quote, John 3:16? Well, I looked it up. You know what it says?
Why?
Lordy, Lordy, look who's 40. My dad passed away in March of 2018. It was very nice of my comedian friends to show up and pay the respect.
God bless him.
Except one who set up a merch table at the wake. All right.
Selling pipes and papers.
Yes. I hate seeing Siamese twin comedians talk about watching porno and nobody responds. And the one says, what? I'm the only one? And the other Siamese twin just winces.
I'm beside myself.
I just read Eugene the Gorilla Who Wasn't So Mean, as read by Wilford Brimley.
The oatmeal guy.
Yeah, it was a really good children's book, except for the ending when Eugene the Gorilla hanged himself in a Boca Raton flop house.
Boca Raton means rat's mouth.
All right, this last one. And all right.
All right, Boca.
Okay. On my way back home from a comedy show in North Jersey, I picked up a pretty female hitchhiker. I told her I'd drop her off at her house. So I pull up to the address, she gave me. I walk around her side of the car and open the door up, and she's gone. But she left her sweater. So I go up to her house, and I knock on her door, and I told her mom I drove her daughter home, and now she's disappeared. And here's her sweater. And the mom said, "Oh my God, my daughter passed away years ago on the New Jersey Turnpike." So I leave on the way home. I also find out her daughter dropped a ghost deuce in my back seat. So everybody, beware of the haunted ghost girl of Cranford, New Jersey.
Whoa!
And that's it for this week's Tweets 2020.
All right, John Council with the goddamn.
Is that a
tweets
true
for the
story?
fortnight.
Yes,
John?
it is.
You're kidding.
Yes.
That's my hometown. That's right.
You said you had a Paul Stanley story?
Paul Stanley, and was very nice to me. I used to go to this club called.
Wait, you say that like there are stories about him being a dick to others. Does he have a reputation as a not kind gentleman?
Yeah, and standoffish and kind of the quiet one and decadent and all sorts of things. And the one who took the advantage of his superstardom. But he would be at this club called Columbus. It was on Columbus Circle, and all the luminaries at the time used to go there. Danny Aiello was the doorman, so I used to get in because I knew people, but there would always be somebody in there. There would always be like Hall and Oates and Hunts Hall. I met there one time, but Paul Stanley, he would sit up in the back in a corner, and in front of him he had a pile of Polaroids. If you don't know what a Polaroid is, it's an instant snapshot, and it comes out like looking like a postcard, right? But he had a stack, maybe 6 inches tall, 7 inches tall, of just pictures of young groupies. Okay, 2, 3, 4 of them, of different parts of their anatomy, of different. And this one I met, and he would tell stories on each one of his little conquests up there, because everybody was, that people were drinking, and and I guess that brought out a lot. And we were there a lot, so the people would, bar talk. It's the same thing. After a couple drinks, you don't care who the hell is who, And but he would have these things. So I always respected, him much more than I don't like the other one.
So when was this? Was this at a time when it was
this
weird
is-
to see him without his makeup?
It wasn't too. He looks the most like himself. Okay, of the four of them when he has his makeup on. Like his face is that
Right.
sort of ghostly. Where the other ones are much more devilish or something like that.
But
And-
was it a novelty to see him without makeup at that time?
Yeah, but this was like there were all sorts of luminaries there all the time. Okay, I mean it's legendary, and like Superman would be there, and James Bond would be there. That sort of Christopher Reeves and one guy who played James Bond, but it was weird. But I also met Ace Frehley, and Ace Frehley was he was pretty much of a drunk, and at the time that I met him, but he was a nice guy, but he would want to go out on the town when he couldn't walk, and he'd go, and we'd go, no, we don't, and he'd go, I'm fucking Ace Frehley, you gotta make it, and then we'd have to lock him in a room. But
Did you? I never asked you. Did you ever meet Andy Warhol?
he's the one I always escaped me. I met like a couple of people in his circle, like Vanilla Fudge or something like that, or Cherry, Banana, but those people were sort of has-beens by the time I would have.
And this is like Steve said, it's the late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah, this was in New York City on that scene with the club kids and things like that. That's when it got weird, when the club kids took over, like the discos and things like that. That's when anything went, drugs, gender, everything out the window.
They made that movie called Party Monster about the club kids.
Right, Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah, well that was, and he plays a guy who gets into that weird lifestyle, but he stabs one of his friends to death, and he does like 18 years in jail. Well, the guy got out of jail a couple years ago.
The subject of the film.
Yes.
The Macaulay Culkin character in the film.
And he
Passed
OD'd
away.
last week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was sort of a rebellion against the punk scene because people let themselves go during the punk thing. You know, you could do anything. You know, look, it wasn't as a challenging a look as the club kids. And
Yeah, there was sort of a moral imperative to be unattractive, whereas I guess the club kids, and I guess before them, the New Romantics took it upon themselves to doll themselves up
Yeah.
It's like
and put an extra effort into their appearance.
exactly like the Divine, John Waters, you know, actress.
Right.
And when you're that crazy looking, they'll put you on TV, and you'd see them on, you know, wherever the '80s shows were, Jenny Jones and Geraldo Rivera. And there's a great episode of, I swear it's Geraldo, or Sally Jesse Raphael, or one of those, where it was Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons on it without their makeup, discussing their careers, and they're talking about how they slept with 25,000 women, and they took questions.
And they have photos too.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I mean. That was the peak of rock stardom at that time. You know, the
imagine-
'80s where anything went. There was everything was, you know.
It was hilarious because the person in the audience, they're taking questions, and some guy just stood up and he guy was like a little nerd and just said, "Really, 25,000 women?" He goes, "Do you guys have a mirror? Look at your," because they're not the most handsome guys in town, and they have really thick New York accents. And Paul Stanley said, "Well, look at you. Well, what do you think you look like?" Like, it was just ridiculous.
But I was in Pittsburgh one time when they were at the height of their fame, at the Igloo, the famous Igloo arena there, and I was able to see the people who would come. There were old ladies dressed as Kiss, and babies dressed as Kiss, and everybody in between. But out there in Pittsburgh, you know, they were like the new gods. Okay, that was the strangest thing I saw. That was the most fandom because everybody had that Kiss thing on, and hundreds of them were. It was like the Juggalos or
Yeah,
what they called-
Juggalos, Insane
know.
Clown Posse guys.
Yeah. That was the extremist fans at the time, were the Kiss fans, and we couldn't understand it because their music is not my cup of tea.
Right now, I'm reading a really great biography on the manager of Van Halen called "Running with the Devil," and it's actually really detailed. And he dealt with Van Halen from '77 till '85, till David Lee Roth, the whole band imploded. But my God, like the stories that Wiv was just saying about groupies, unbelievable. The guy said every city we had to meet doctors who would give him, you know, pain pill prescriptions and what do you call that for STDs, penicillin shot.
Penicillin, yeah.
Oh my God! But the women just were unbelievable. The stories are hilarious, and it's surreal. It must be just crazy being 23 years old and just having 20 girls outside a room wanting to service you, so they can say they did it. But there's a great story in their first tour.
Please.
It was Van Halen opening, doing 40 minutes. The band Montrose. We're actually pretty good. Sammy sang with them.
Sammy Hagar, yeah.
Montrose.
And the
Now,
headline.
was he with them at the time?
No.
Okay.
That sounds like a marsupial.
I think he may have been a Canadian band. I don't know, but there's some good songs. You never hear them. And the headliner was Journey. And there's a great story in the book. The manager comes into the dressing room with Van Halen, and he sees there's a big green stain on the wall dripping down a mirror. And he goes, "What happened?" And he goes, "They all sat there real quiet, like they did something wrong." And they go, "What happened?" And here Eddie Van Halen, David Lee Roth threw some peanuts at Eddie Van Halen, and in return, Eddie Van Halen threw a giant bowl of guacamole dip at David Lee Roth. At that exact second, Steve Perry, the lead singer of Journey, opened the door up and said, "Hey, fellas, have a good set," and it hit him in the face. And it splattered all over him,
Oh,
right?
Well, he's a dip.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So the manager of Van Halen goes, "Well, where's he at?" And they go, "He went into the bathroom." He goes, "Oh my God, this they could get tossed off the tour." So he opened the door up, and he goes, and there was Steve Perry, 1978. With beautiful, long, shiny, silky black hair, covered in guacamole that pouring down his face. And he looked at me and said, "Why?" and started crying. Right?
Oh, and he was very short.
Yes, he said that too. And he said, "I helped him get washed up," and he went on and had a good set.
But John, you just described Steve Perry's hair as beautiful.
That's what the guy said in the book.
Oh, okay.
He said his long, silky, black, shiny hair was. Just, I should have brought the book with me. So
I'll take your word, John.
I think the book came out
I mean,
recently.
there's nothing wrong with making that observation. It's just odd that you would, knowing you. That's all.
So the book came out recently, maybe October, September. It's great. It's a very great read. They asked Steve Perry about it. They go, in this new Van Halen biography, they asked, and he goes, "Oh, it didn't go down like that. I had a real nice satin jacket and a little bit of guacamole going on it. And I was upset because I just got the jacket and I went to wear it on stage. I'm like, it hit you in the face."
I'd cry too if I was going on, or you gotta.
But just
But I kind of like it that they get wild and they still throw fucking. If you throw guacamole, that's commitment, okay? Because that's hard to clean up.
but it's
It's easy to throw chairs.
he said that the amount of cocaine that went around was incredible. And the chapter I just read said that he goes, they're on tour promoting their second album. And he goes, I didn't go out for the first week of the tour. Second week of the tour, I got a phone call. You got to get here. Dave Lee Roth freaked out. And he goes, "What do you mean?" He goes, "You got to get here." So he hopped on a plane and he was there wherever they were touring at within 4 hours. And he said that his security, "What's the problem with Dave Lee Roth?" He goes, "He went crazy and wrecked the hotel room." And he goes, "Yeah." And he goes, "We had to put him in a straitjacket." Manager goes, "What?" And he goes, "Where'd you get a straitjacket?" He goes, "I have one."
Wow.
And he went into the room and he said, Dave Lee Roth couldn't fight or anything like that. And these security guys, but he was on a rampage. And I think he went on just freaked out over cocaine, just went crazy. And
It'll do it to you. I mean, there's so many examples out there.
And but it's right. He said they would party, sleep, and then do drugs to wake up the next day. And this went on for 60 shows. They said they were opening for Black Sabbath. He said Dave Lee Roth and Ozzy did a 3-day coke binge, and they did their concert. They did their show in Nashville. This is Van Halen. They go, all right, and now here's Black Sabbath. They couldn't find Ozzy, and the manager said to Van Halen, "If you go out, can you just play for a little bit while I make an announcement that the concert's been canceled?" He goes, "What do you mean?" They couldn't find Ozzy Osbourne. Here he was so drugged out with Dave Lee Roth, he just went out on a town, walked into a strange hotel. Saw a maid cleaning a room and said, "This is my room," and she let him in, and he fell asleep for 20 hours. And he said Van Halen had to make up the concert later on, and also very interestingly,
That's drug things.
oh man, and he said they're on the downside, as Van Halen was coming up in the late 70s. Their manager at the time, who you'll know who else he managed, was his name was Marshall Burl. Milton Berle's nephew.
Oh.
Wow.
Who also went on to manage Rat in the video for Round and Round. He got Milton Berle in the video.
I remember there was a video with Milton Berle in it.
He said
right?
they're at like a
dressed in drag.
Yeah, they're at like a dinner table and they're like round and round.
I remember that, and I said, "What the heck?"
And he plays. I think he plays a man, and he plays a woman, like looking at himself. But but he was
He's
the first.
ahead of his time.
Yeah, he was the first manager of Van Halen, and they got a bad deal from him. They just said when they got done their first 2 tours, they owed Warner Brothers $1 million. And they just thought it was a bad deal when they sold double platinum records. That they thought so. It's a very interesting, detailed story.
Now, John, can we talk about something that happened this week?
Oh yeah, sure, yes.
Speaking of talk shows, because I think half an hour ago you mentioned Geraldo.
Yes.
There's a talk show host called Conan O'Brien. I think
Yes.
people know him. In fact, he's somebody who the living members of our audience would know. So I think maybe we should talk about this right now. Conan O'Brien. Well, take it from here, John.
I love Conan O'Brien. I thought he was the perfect heir apparent to David Letterman.
Absolutely.
He's funnier than Letterman.
And I think he got a bad deal on the whole Leno thing. I think you should give him a chance.
Right. NBC screwed Conan for sure.
Yes. And just give him a chance. But just a very funny guy. I went to New York several times to see his show.
Okay, John, but you're setting it up. You don't want to offend Conan.
Oh,
Because you
okay.
think this might offend Conan. That's what's going on here?
Nah, I don't give a shit anymore.
I think you do. There'd be no reason to set it up that way. That, hey, I love Conan. He's a genius. I think, well, you didn't say that, but you kind of did. And I went up there to see him several times. I enjoy him. He's great. He should be the host of The Tonight Show to this very day. You're setting it up to not hurt Conan's feelings. Conan, John, he's a good guy. Relax.
Okay. Well, he tweeted the other day, gaydar, but only for tracking ships in sea and objects in the air. All right.
Right. Funny tweet.
Yes. Well, on April 13th, 2014, I tweeted, I have a friend who has gaydar, but only for ships and planes.
Now, who did you tweet that to?
I just put it on Twitter.
Oh, okay.
Right. And then I retweeted it.
Retweeted.
I retweeted it in 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019.
And probably read it on the show.
Yes,
all
yeah,
those years as well.
Yes. But I've had people saying, which they go, I'm not saying Johnny, maybe he didn't steal, but maybe one of his writers who was in charge of his social media.
I've seen some reaction, I guess, on Facebook to that effect.
Yeah.
In your defense, which I think is weird because I don't think you were trying to make a case that Conan stole a joke from you. You were just highlighting parallel thinking and
Right.
saying, hey, isn't this cool? Someone who I think is hilarious had the same thought as I did.
Right.
Wasn't that your
Yes.
attitude toward it?
Yes. And
This is how insane a lot of people are. Because, the whole idea that, this must have happened. Because if that happened to me, I would want to claim that was what happened.
Right.
I don't know if I'm being very articulate here,
Oh, no.
but I think a lot of people are exposing themselves as just being such egocentric fucks that they really think that when something like that happens, that can only be the case. They wish they were in your position so that they could claim that joke and say, Conan stole from me.
There's a veteran Philadelphia, Pennsylvania comedian who's now an actor.
I'm right here.
No. This guy has a lot of attitude.
Okay.
He's a dirty bar comic, and it's not my friend Bob. It's another guy.
I'm not going to tell.
Yeah, all right. He told me this story. We had a discussion of this before about like joke thieves and stuff like that. And he goes, "Did I ever tell you about I got ripped off?" He goes, "Remember years ago when Nancy Kerrigan clubbed Tanya Harding clubbed Nancy Kerrigan?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, I told that joke at an open mic night. I said, hey, did you guys hear? Tanya Harding's now the spokesman for the club." And that club was that locking device on your steering wheel from whenever hell that happened was.
Yeah, like 80s, 90s.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Hey, did you hear Tanya Harding's like the spokesperson for the club? All right. He goes, when you know it, the next night I'm watching Jay Leno. He does that joke. So I call up NBC. All right. And he goes, and Leno would do this. Leno called him back at his house and said, what was the problem here? He goes, I told that joke at an open mic night, and you did it the next night. And Leno goes, well, it was parallel thinking. And he goes, no, you had one of your minions at the open mic night in Northeast Philadelphia. And Leno said,
I'm sorry.
hey, I meant no offense. That's a joke. If we're brainstorming, you would say that.
Right.
You make that's how you joke, right? You make a list. Tanya Harding, skating, ice, club. You just describe everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And gaydar, maybe that was the same things that people do. Because comedy writers, when you write, you take everything apart. You take and see it from every which way. But I think that you should. I think that you should pursue that and say, "Hey, I want to write for you." Okay.
I don't know. I think
turn that into a positive.
I think his show might be going off the air.
Well, he's
That's
moving
when
to
he needs
HBO
you. He'll
Max.
always have an outlet.
I'll tell you what, though, too, man.
He needs young, bright writers like you.
the what do you call it? So Leno goes to this guy from Philadelphia. Look, I'll send you a check for $50 from NBC just for the joke, and he goes, stick it up your ass.
Oh, come on.
All right, and I'm like, I would just say, who cares? I would say, hey, joke Reverend Leno, and there's no way in the universe, and this would be like fax machines. Nobody had an open mic night.
Right.
That you would think of that joke right away, right?
And you think if you're doing a joke that ends up on Jay Leno's Tonight Show,
Right. I would have asked for 60.
wouldn't you think I really have to aim higher?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Wouldn't he be ashamed of himself and kind of think, man, I need to be a sharper writer if this is.
And that joke had a companion piece to it.
Oh, yeah?
I have a friend who says he has gaydar. He can spot a gay person from a mile away by a look, a phrase, an article of clothing. He can tell. And I say it's not really that hard. If their cell phone plays Bananarama's Cruel Summer, it's pretty sure bet they're gay. But I'll tell you,
Bananarama.
that's true though about the state of late night comedy. It's unwatchable. And anybody, Seth Meyers and Trevor Noah doing all the home shows. It's not funny anymore. Just not.
It plays above.
It's true of a lot of shows.
It plays too much for hipness and inside jokes and political.
Oh my God, it's
So and it is.
You know what
I'm
show?
sure that there's good segments, but it's hard to watch.
You know what show I did enjoy? I thought was fun.
Antenna problems?
I enjoyed David Spade had a show where it was just monologues and topical news stuff, not politics.
Was it the Showbiz Show? Something like that? Or
Well, he sat around and he always
Oh,
had.
no, this was a couple years ago.
yeah.
A few years ago, yeah.
He had Norm Macdonald and Jeffrey Ross on, and it was just naturally funny conversation. And what killed it, I think, was the Corona quarantine. I think it went off the air like earlier this year. It was on for like 2 years. It's a funny little talk show, The Late Show, whatever.
He's funny.
My God, it's just unwatchable. Late night TV with no audience. Oh my God. And but a couple years ago, some guy actually what would you call it? A blogger categorized and said Conan O'Brien stole like 4 of his jokes. And Conan has like several writers, and they had to go to court for it. And I forget what happened. Maybe Conan admitted something didn't happen, but they gave the guy like $1,000 just to go away. But to be honest with you, I'm not being a douchebag here too. I did see the stuff the guy put online was almost word for word what Conan said, and there were several instances you could see the courts believed it enough to look at it. It warranted merit.
If there's a pattern, there's I guess reasonability.
Yes.
To believe that there's something at work here.
Yes.
Someone's seeing these tweets.
I think that's the third oldest profession is to take other people's jokes. It's been going on for years and years. Milton Berle, your friend, okay, he was the king of bad gags, but he also was always accused of stealing. Robin Williams, always accused of stealing. Something like, I remember Rich Hall. Remember, Rich Hall?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Rich Hall, I don't know where he is today. He's probably retired.
He's in the UK. He makes documentary films for Channel 4 and BBC and stuff. He
did Sniglets.
He's excellent.
Sniglets, okay? Remember those books?
Yeah, words that should be in the dictionary but aren't.
That's exactly. And I remember him being very paranoid because a guy was stalking him because of a stolen joke. The joke was, and how about them, those license plates in New Hampshire say, live free or die? How'd you like to be the guy in prison stamping them out, live free or die? And that was a joke. But there was a guy who thought that Rich Hall stole it and did that and was threatening, bodily or financially harm.
And
I mean, to see such a common joke that was probably said a million years ago when they first did the thing, it can be mistaken for thief.
Yeah, I did have an incident like that where I submitted a writer's packet to NBC, and like 2 pages of monologue jokes, a set piece, and a couple other bits.
Was it just to the network or to a specific show?
The late night NBC writers workshop, which meant all the late night NBC shows: Jimmy Fallon, Seth
okay.
Meyers, Saturday Night Live.
Right.
I think maybe even Carson Daly or one of those later shows. And I was in my 40s, and I'm thinking, oh, all right, I hate that shit when you get to a certain age. Don't you think experience gives you broader stuff to talk about? So anyway, I sent a packet in, and about a month later, I saw the set piece I wrote on there, and there was absolutely no parallel thinking at all. This is a special one.
Do we know what this is? Can we find
Yeah,
it?
yeah. I bet you could probably find. I know I had it saved for a while, but it was on Seth Meyers. The bit I submitted was pet shaming. People oftentimes come home from work and they find their dog tore apart the garbage. So they take a picture of the dog, like a German Shepherd, and they hold a little card in front of the dog saying, "I tore apart the garbage while my master was at work." A cat will go up and rip apart the toilet paper or drapes, and the person will hold a picture in front of the car, a card in front of the cat saying, "I wrecked my parents' curtains while they're at work." So the first 3 or 4 was stories like that. I ate the carpet. I ate all the dog, whatever. In my world, the 4th joke was, I sold top secret A-bomb plans to the Soviets, and each crime got progressively worse and crazier. And I'm sitting home and I go, wait a minute, I wrote that, and there's no parallel thinking. That's the thing I wrote. But then again, I realized I signed a waiver. I said, anything you submit is property of NBC, and so I probably would have no legal standing. But
Well, John, I have it in front of me. They've done this many, many times. So I guess this became sort of a signature bit on the show, or a go-to bit. There are many, many clips of what they call extreme dog shaming.
I never knew
It
this.
becomes, yeah.
I never knew this, and this is years ago when I submitted. I don't know when the first one would be.
And these videos start, the oldest ones are 6 years old, and it goes to 2 years old. So they got, I guess, about 40 years out of it.
Yeah,
I read a lot of old joke books, okay?
Thanks.
Old joke books or anecdote books, and I will find every comedian out there, it is written down someplace. From the Three Stooges, I've read things from the Three Stooges from books that would have been contemporary at their times, and to Steve Allen, I've seen things that were in joke books and everything. So I think that each generation sort of absorbed those jokes. But now, because of alternative comedy and because of the walls broken by people like Robin Williams and Jonathan Winters and John Belushi, where things can get as crazy as you want. I think it's a new, it's a new world out there in comedy, and it's also scrupulous. Okay?
Steve and I were just talking about there was an Australian show. It's interesting when something like turns things on its head, like Monty Python is so out there. But that Australian show we texted
The
about.
Auntie Jack Show, yeah.
All right, there was a show on called Auntie Jack, and it was a big hulking guy with like Wendy's logo hair. It was like an afro with 2 points on the side, but a big, heavy-set woman body, right, with a mustache, and his name was Auntie Jack, and it was an Australian show, and he had a catchphrase, and the catchphrase was, "I'll tear your bloody arms off." Like
I'll rip your bloody arms off.
Yeah, I'll rip your blood.
Now, what does he do? What is his occupation?
It's a kids show.
It's a quasi-kid show. It started out as a kid show,
okay.
but I guess they figured out that this might not be for kids. So they kept it on for 2 seasons, and it had an adult following. It was like a sketch show, just a very bizarre, off-the-wall, avant-garde comedy
It seems
program.
like anybody who comes from Australia and is a comedian has weird hair, okay? Didn't they?
Like Yahoo series.
Yeah, like the Yahoo Serious, and there were there's other. I remember a comic, honest to God, who played the Comedy Works in Philadelphia from Australia, And at the climax of his act, he shot bottle rockets out of his butt. Okay, and that's God's honest truth. And if you there's other people who do that, and Australian comedians are famous for doing that sort of gag, shooting rockets out their butts.
Somebody brought something up, and I haven't thought about this for years, but where I live at in Northeast Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, there's a famous German club called Konstadters. It's a big hall.
I played there.
And it's really fun. I totally forgot about this. One night they had a variety show there. It was comedians and singers and dancers.
It's a German club. They drink beer and they wear lederhosen and
Yeah.
and it's been there for years.
Well, I don't know how they got this act. The guy had a 717 area code. So is that New York, upstate Pennsylvania? New York? Anyway.
Yeah, upstate Pennsylvania.
He came out, and it is an older guy, and he had a bad comb over, and he had these 4 boxes that were 5 feet tall in a row. It looked like 4 speakers. A band would come out, right? And he would come out, and he was known as having the world's largest ventriloquist puppets.
They were huge. I saw this.
Yes.
I saw this.
Yeah. Well, I had seen the guy here. The guy was there like yearly, and I went to the show one time with my parents for the dinner thing, and Tommy Moore was just speaking about it.
Yeah.
That's where I saw it. So here I found the video of the guy. It's only about 2-3 blocks from my house where I live at, and I'll go to my parents, and here he pulls these big gaudy puppets. It's a dog, a cat, I don't know, a cow, and the last one's a gorilla. And they're huge. They're as big as you or I. And they're all glittery.
They were bigger than us. They were like 8 foot tall.
Yeah, they were huge. And they did stupid, corny jokes like, took me for a walk today, whatever. Blah, blah. And here he pulls each one in the box, and they're all fully 8 foot tall bodies in front of these boxes. And he's in the middle talking, doing their voices.
They're like giant puppets, and he's in the middle of it doing all their voices.
It's a cat, a dog, and a cow. And the last one's a gorilla, right? And he makes them all talk. Blah, 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 stupid, unfunny joke, blah, 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 right? At the end of the set, the gorilla breaks loose and starts breakdancing on stage. And here, it's dancing, and the crowd just goes crazy. And here, it was the ventriloquist's son. And he waited in the box for 2 hours till his dad, and he pretended to be a ventriloquist puppet, because he had a big gorilla suit on. And that was the big catch at the end.
Well, that's a nice element of surprise. I like that.
Yeah.
It was great.
That's a sense of show business.
Yeah.
I like when there's a sense of show.
Oh, yeah. It was like, tuxedo wearing comedians. And I was a kid. I thought that was hilarious. They seem so professional. Like Alan King or
it seems so gimmicky to me. I mean, it was a great gimmick to have that thing, and that reminded me a lot of vaudeville. Like, he would be a great vaudeville act, because anywhere he went, that act would be, impenetrable, because of the giant. You know how it is. John is now a ventriloquist. Did he tell you about that?
No, John.
Yeah.
What's going on over here?
Yeah.
I put the mask on.
The mask?
Your coronavirus mask.
Oh, yeah.
And I pull out my little puppy, Mr. McGonagall.
And he tells dirty jokes.
Well, it starts off with hey, Mr. McGonagall, how's everything going? Oh, I hate my dad. He's always looking for a handout. I go, why? Is he a bum? And he goes, no, he's a toll taker. I hate paying tolls. It's like throwing money out the window. Corny. That's corny jokes.
Right.
Corny. The fourth joke. Hey, did you guys ever hear that squirrels
from whatever town you're in?
Yeah. Squirrels from Camden, New Jersey explode after they have sex? No, I never heard that, Mr. McGonagall. That squirrels explode after they have sex in Camden. He goes, well, the ones I fucked did. And you should see the audience's face, because the puppet is like an Oogie puppet. It's looking around.
All right.
And
of course it is.
He named it Mr. McGonagall after Ed McGonagall. Okay.
Did I tell you what I auditioned for America's Got Talent with WID, and I go down there, And my joke was I was going to come running out with this big giant ventriloquist dummy I have, walk up and they can look around, make it look around the room, and then throw it on the floor and just do my act.
Right.
And I got hired. They like my audition, so I come in and I go up to the into a room, and the room was gigantic. It was a huge hall at the convention center in Philadelphia, and there's a guy and a girl who there couldn't be any more bored. They're interns with an Apple computer in front of them, and he go, "All right, begin," and he go, "Well, tell us about yourself." I go, "Hi, I'm John Kensel, and I do ventriloquism and comedy, right?" And so I come running up with the dummy, and I do it, and he just stared at me. They just, like I threw a baby on the floor, like, what's he doing? What's he doing? They didn't get it. They thought I was actually going to use it, and the joke is I don't use it.
Right. That's the whole point.
And they looked at me as if and Steve, I was embarrassed. I was 40 feet from them, and they had professional video cameras there, and everything, and I felt like
Now, wait, you went into the same room.
he went after me.
You went into that same situation.
Yeah.
How did you do in front of these folks?
They filmed me inside a waiting room or something like that. It was very like it was very claustrophobic and very.
Did they react?
I had a bunch of props and things like that, and I tried it again at Hammerstein's, okay, in New York City, and they booed me off right away. I didn't even do 5 seconds.
And it was weird too about
But I did get to meet Nick Cannon.
about a year.
Lifelong dream?
About a year or two later on America's Got Talent, they brought out a prop comedian, and it was some old guy who was a prison guard who retired and he did a lot of your jokes.
Yep.
And he didn't pass, but they encouraged him, like, yeah, you keep at it. And he didn't do them like your jokes, like
He did a lot of your jokes, Wid, and
What?
one of John's friends is ex-wives.
No, he gives me his jokes sometimes. I like to do the one. I took my nephew for his birthday.
That's for the super fans.
I took my nephew to birthday to.
Chuck E. Cheese.
Is there Chuck E. Cheese here? And then he hated it.
Why?
He's 37.
They filed for bankruptcy. I got to change the joke now.
Yeah.
And
You have to keep things updated, yeah. When
There was-
generations
there was
shift, you always have to update
joke
your
stealing.
material.
Now, joke stealing. One time in Ocean City, New Jersey, a priest. And this is the God's honest truth. A priest won a contest. Okay, they at Ocean City because they have the Doodah Parade and they have all this, and so he won, and it was in the newspaper, and it was all my B jokes, like be prepared, and other jokes, and he had seen me down in Wildwood, and he did my routine, and he won the contest, right? And so I called him up. I'm with my friend, and we call him up, and we go, Father, and we sort of talked in like an accent. Father, why did you take that? This is the way. Because, Whit, I did take them. I have to, because how can I make it up to you? I says, I want you to say 7 novenas for my mom, okay? and that's how I tried to, and this is the God's honest truth. So, but I said, put it to a good cause. And we'd laugh. And
Did he try to justify it in any way?
It's kind of, things are out there, and everybody is, even subconsciously a lot, that's the excuse that people will give, subconsciously or parallel development.
Yeah, but if you saw you live and he stole
actually-
word for word every one of your
but
every part of your B bit.
But that's the excuse they will go to if they need to be excused. If they're called out for stealing something, and you can say, well, no, it was parallel. And in some cases it is, in some cases
But maybe
it
I'm
isn't. It's like
confused, but it
anything
sounds like he admitted it straight away.
Oh yeah, you had to as a priest.
And
Yeah, I know how to put them. I went to Catholic school. I know how to put those priests on
can
the
someone
spot.
get Wit a newspaper?
Yeah.
The did he have any kind of excuse? Because you did say he admitted
Oh
it straight
no,
away.
yeah. Well, he just He didn't have an excuse.
Did
I
he
didn't-
think it was all right? He thought it was all right.
Well, I was pretending I was mad for a little while, but I was pretending. I knew what I was doing because I was there to joke with the guy and say that, and I knew already that I wanted to ask him for novenas, and because it'd be like an inside Catholic joke, you know. I didn't want to disrespect him.
That he's a story you just said to me. When back to what we said earlier about when I
Yeah.
submitted to NBC and they took my.
Right.
I always think about submitting another writer's packet with the worst, horrible, evil things in the world and to see what would happen. And one of them was the Catholic priest steeplechase. And it was 6 priests on a racetrack, like a dog race. And instead of a rabbit going around the track, it was an altar boy chase after it, and just do like really vile stuff and see if Seth Meyers would take that.
You know what? I always put it this way: if I was the devil, I wouldn't go for Joe Schmo who's drunk in the street. I'd go for the priest. So that's how I feel a justification for that sort of thinking that it can't all be evil. It has to be, you know, if you believe in God, you believe in an evil side too. So, you know, that's my justification for, and not justification, but that's my explanation for such cruel and unadulteratedly bad behavior by, by something that I was brought up with. I mean, it's strange. It's like, you know, you believe in something all your life, and then you're now a lot of people are turning against it, and you know, so I have to justify it in some ways. So, not justify, but understand it.
That's
But-
then with the quarantine.
But I always respect and I love the guys and gals who are out there on the front lines, you know, of any religion.
You know, with the quarantine though, it killed comedy. I think it's not fun anymore. It's not fun.
Well,
It's,
people are doing Zoom shows. Have you guys done any of these?
yes, I did a game show and I did another one. The game show was fun.
But people are doing stand-up on Zoom. How does that work?
It's and you also too, if you do, anybody does do it, that's why they have those rings. It's a light ring. It's a fluorescent light that goes on your cell phone or on top of your computer.
Oh, okay. I have one of those.
But
Organic.
but if you like use your computer camera up here,
Right.
oh my God, you look like a you worked in a coal mine. Just like you look horrible. Every nook and cranny of your face looks like a Thomas English muffin with a beard.
But if you get one of those rings, you have beautiful flowing hair like Steve Perry.
Silky.
1978.
Silky.
Silky, beautiful,
How about the hair-
majestic.
Joey Adams.
How about the hair hoppers? The hair hoppers, like you know, Cinderella, you know, and what were the other ones that had that?
Poofy
Yeah.
hair.
Yeah.
Brittany Fox.
You know
And who had the weirdest hairdo was a flock of seagulls.
Yes.
guy.
Oh, yeah.
You know, this is a little side that I'm so curious, so curious. All those
We learned from the beautiful hair comment regarding Steve Perry.
I had.
I know you quote unquote read it in a book, as Lewis Coach would say.
but I'd love to find out where they're at today. What are they doing? All the hair bands from like '88 till '92 till grunge and what they call it, Guns N' Roses took over. But all those bands, what are those guys doing today? And you go, well, I play in a band, and I roof, and I put signs up. Like I don't know, because there's some stations play at midnight like a hair metal hour, and some of the songs are like catchy, then you know, but like just what are these guys doing for a living? We had a video on Heavy Rotation on Headbangers Ball.
Is that a viable explanation? Hair? Did they call them hair bands?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know, it's weird too. They're supposed to be like tough rock and roll first, and they have Aquanet in their hair.
That.
Like,
See, I remember all those guys, you know, and how long it would take, and the smell of Aquanet was always in the air there. You know?
I haven't had a haircut it's almost been a year since quarantine. And Steve's hair is long too, but like,
Yeah, I usually get haircuts twice a year.
yeah,
And it's been more than a year at this point.
yeah. My girl quit because no one's coming to her shop. She became a dental hygienist, and now that she can't do nothing else, and she sits at home. But it's weird, like rock and roll. You don't have to do anything; just let your hair grow long, and like rock, man. I want to rock.
Yeah.
Like, you get a leather jacket, like you didn't earn those stripes. That's what I'm trying to say. Like it's like years ago, you go to a nightclub, you see a guy with long hair, and you look at he's jacked. Doesn't mean he is. Like doesn't mean he's the super tough guy just because he looks like a guy in a movie. I remember as a kid growing up.
John, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, about the hair bands. Just they act like they're real tough guys
Right?
because we wear leather and
But-
spandex.
But they didn't earn that.
No. But imagine those guys getting into a real fight with Hell's Angels. Right? They get their asses beat.
They all had costume people. You
Yeah,
know,
the-
they all had costume. I mean, that was a big part of it. Was the image. I mean,
Yeah.
it was. That's why grunge came in, because it was the anti-image. All these things we talk about. These are different tastes that that always go with or always did go. I mean, it's a little bit more homogenized now because we have so many choices. But at one time, people were much more fanatical about.
Speaking of singers, which I never would have thought this, in that Van Halen book I'm reading, after they got rid of Roth and Hagar, did you ever hear who else they asked?
Gary Sharon from Extreme.
All right, and they landed on him, but the two people before him,
You want to say Patti Smith?
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Patti Smythe.
right? And there's-
Patti Smythe was between Roth and Hagar.
right, there was one more,
Yeah.
and he said, and he couldn't believe it but Eddie Van Halen asked him, Daryl Hall from Hall & Oates.
Oh wow.
And because Van Halen was moving musically into like ballads with the Hagar era, and that might have been because it's pop music, but I think Daryl Hall has the best vocals. And he's 72 years old.
Yeah, he's one of the greatest pop
Yeah.
singers ever.
Yeah, he's good.
One of the best soul
He's good.
singers.
Did you ever meet him?
I did at the same place that Paul Stanley was. He was in there, Hall and Oates.
Do we have anything for show
But
title?
I think just he was there. He was, who he was sitting with? He was sitting with Sam Kinison, and this is the God's honest truth, because Sam Kinison wanted to. I mean, it was and Hunts Hall would be in the same room. I mean, it was wild.
Any idea?
But his music, I never really, there were always rumors about them. Okay, that they were had AIDS and that they, were lovers and and all this.
That's way too many letters for show title.
But that wasn't the first record that I ever got.
Oh well, we got
Well,
that.
yeah, we'll have to do this next time. With
Yeah.
we'll get to the records.
How about I don't know, year-end comedy and wrap-up? I don't know. I can't think. We didn't talk anything about particular.
How about the return of video? We can
Yeah, all right, say that. Yes.
something like that. I don't know what's going on over here. But, John Council plugs.
Nothing. Check out the Passive Aggressive Hour. We'll be back in 2 weeks. It's my favorite night of the week, favorite show to do. That's it. That's just it.
Legendary Wit plugs.
Well, I'm going to do a Valentine's Day special. Okay, I'm going to do one of those Zoom shows, but I'm going to cater it to Valentine's Day, and I want everybody who doesn't have a Valentine to tune in. Okay, and that might be, that might be a lot of from 8 to 80. Okay, it's not going to be any.
Any idea how people can find this?
What?
How can people find this?
I'm gonna. It'll be put up. Yeah.
Okay.
That'll.
Well, let me know. I'll put
And
it on the
might
show
be,
page.
And I might try to do it early in the day instead of doing it, late at night. But I'm pretty sure that I have enough love material that I can cover that.
All right. Well, in that case, thank you so much, Legendary Wit, John Council. I'm Steve Reeves.
Valentine's Day, VD.
Holy Magano.
Ty Cats, eat 'em
We
raw.
did it, Sarah.
Thank you.